We will see the debut of Chicago Bears rookie quarterback Caleb Williams as he makes his NFL debut against the Buffalo Bills on the road. In baseball, the Chicago Cubs are quietly sneaking back into their playoff race, while the White Sox continue to rebuild and send Pedro Grifol home with his pink slip and link card. In the Olympics, both the men's and the women's USA basketball team will be playing for a gold medal this weekend to close out the games. That and a whole lot more as the Friday edition of the Second City Sports starts right now. Welcome to another fun-filled #Friday Fun edition of Second City Sports. We're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago, along with Mr. Keem and Gee with the she. I am Sydney Brown. Hey, that's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at CK80. Once again, it's CK80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
Excuse me. You can follow my Keem McGee on the Twitter, X, excuse me, and the IG.
Make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. Please subscribe to our podcast. We are located at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We are on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And while you're ready, give War Media a follow at WARR Media on all social media platforms. That's Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
We are unapologetically fun, and we have very definite opinions. If you have any definite opinion during our 2-hour extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show, you can hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comments section. Look in or get them up on the screen for you. But you decide to troll and or do something silly, dumb, or stupid, I've given Lakina full powers to give your fools to be a boot.
Toodles.
But before we begin, we must remind you can catch Sports Zone Chicago live in the living color on Roku TV. That's right. So celebrate the squad and get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV. If you already have a Roku television, just tap on that sports folder and download that Sports Zone Chicago app. If you don't have a Roku television, but you have some handheld devices laying around, iPhone, iPad, iTouch, your Chromebook, or your PC, or your Android, please go to the Google Play Store, download that Roku TV app, and access Sports Zone Chicago through that avenue. So no more excuses. Celebrate the squad and get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, live and on demand.
Anytime, anywhere.
And you know we will provide.
We'll be providing you with some of the best here this Friday here on Second City Sports. Of course, we'll talk about the Olympics as the men's hoops team, a close one against Serbia in the semifinals yesterday. Also, too, some great standouts and record-breaking performances all around. We'll talk about that. Also, too, of course, some sports media news. Of course, our girl Christy Manica is not with us today, but we're gonna we'll be holding it down for for her as well. I'm sure when she comes back next week she'll have her thoughts on the we'll get to that in a second, but also too, of course, the Bears it's like we're gonna be seeing all the starters for their second preseason game against Buffalo tomorrow. We'll talk about that, and also the rest of the slate of the preseason for the official opener of the NFL. That's not Caleb Williams on the phone, obviously, but of course, let's get right to it here. Let's talk some White Sox. White Sox break some news during their day off yesterday. They gave, as our late friend and as a big supporter of our show, Lamont Scott, used to say, Mr. Grifol's got his pink slip and late card yesterday. Not a big surprise considering, we'll get to all that in a second, but just not a big shocker. I know people thought that maybe it probably should happen earlier this season. Somebody probably should happen even earlier than that. Now, here's an interesting tidbit. Good thing, our good friends over WGN Sports, or GN Sports, yesterday The only time that Mr. Grifol was over 500 was his opener. It was the first game of his managerial career against Houston, and they won that game, and they were under 500 since. 89 and 190. That's his official record. His 2.5 years with the White Sox. And and I guess apparently, according to Chris Getz, saying that there was some talk about this for some time now. So I'm all choked up here. But what did you think about this news, and where do the White Sox go from here?
I guess we already know what that meeting was about last Wednesday, huh? Which Pedro Grifol denied happened, but he wasn't going to talk about it. Now we know what it is, and that was preparing for your dismissal. But I digress. Of course, Grady Sizemore, a former MLB player, a former Cleveland at the time Indian, he takes over for the rest of the season, and Charlie Montoya, who was the old bench coach, he got his walking papers as well. So the White Sox are under a new direction for the rest of the season, and this comes on the heels of the 1 year anniversary of Chris Getz being hired as GM and Kenny Williams and Rick Hahn getting the boot around this time. Lakina, as I said on this program last week, what difference does it make of firing him now? Just let the season ride out. It couldn't got any worse. I know they broke their 21 game losing streak by winning in Oakland. Lakina, I did say that it would be poetic justice that the Sox would take 2 out of 3 in Oakland for them being the last time playing at that garbage ass stadium. They had the chance to do it Wednesday, but they blew another big lead in the ninth inning.
Mm-hmm.
I digress. But the 21 game losing streak was embarrassing enough. Although so there was going on that some players tuning them out, he was trying to rally the troops, and they were listening to. When you start to hear all those kinds of stories, you know you lost the team, but you're not the man for the job. I know Rick Hahn, the ex-GM, was excited. We talked about Lakina when he hired him a couple of years ago that he finally got his guy after not being allowed to hire his manager the previous stint when Tony La Russa was hired by Jerry Reinsdorf, the owner. But we know that Pedro Grifol, good man, but he just wasn't fit for this job. And of course, it was a totally different roster a year ago than what it is now. So I know Pedro Grifol was saying all the nice things, being the kiss butt to Jerry Reinsdorf, of course, because he still wants to keep a job within the MLB coaching family. I don't know if that's going to happen now. I guarantee this, he won't never ever manage again. I know that. And number 3, who's going to be the manager of this team? I know some people said AJ Brzezinski, who's going to be calling the game with Kevin Kugler tomorrow on Fox with a crosstown showdown between the Cubs and Sox. I don't think he's going to get that job. If he gets it, great, but I'm not sitting on pins and needles on him. Number 2, Ozzie Guillen. You had your real last shot to hire him. I'm not talking about before you hired Pedro. You had your real last shot to hire him before Jerry Reinsdorf chose Tony La Russa prior to the 2021 season. In my opinion, that was your last best shot to bring back Ozzie. I don't want to hear Ozzie's name anymore as far as being the manager of the Chicago White Sox. I'm not saying if it happens, great. But remember, Lakina, we sat here along with Christine. We sat here last year. I said, if the White Sox organization is teasing fans by bringing Ozzie's name up as a managerial search, I'm going to lose my mind. I don't want to do that anymore. Leave that man alone. All I want to hear from you about regarding Ozzie Guillen is that he's going to move to that new network next year. That's it. I don't want to hear him name being mentioned for the managerial job unless I see a press conference with him holding his number 13 jersey. Outside of that, I don't want you to tease me nothing about Ozzie Guillen being a manager anymore.
This is Second City Sports on Sports on Chicago. Lakina McGee, Steve Brown with you now. Said if you heard AJ's interview with Wall and Sylvia yesterday, it kind of sounds like he wants at least be talked to about the job. I know Chris Getz said that they want someone with a little bit of that's in organizations now, so he's not with the organization, he's doing TV work. And he even made a joke that he actually is making more money doing what he's doing now than he would be in the manager of the White Sox. I know Skip Schumacher, I should say, who's the I guess you say lame duck manager of the Marlins. He'll probably be gone at the end of the year. They're probably just as bad as the White Sox are. I know his name's getting thrown around, and but I'm gonna sort of if you're an up and coming manager or if you're a veteran manager. I know some people say, hey, let's get Terry Francona out of retirement. If you're Terry Francona, you're like, do I really want to come back for this? Like, if you're an up and coming manager, like, do you want to like, is this really? Because they're talking about maybe like what 4 or 5, maybe even 6 years before this team, can kind of at least get to the point where they can actually contend for the AL Central. Do you really want to? They might have to really have to start begging people. So it's going to be interesting to see. We'll see how Grady Sizemore does. Look, if he has somewhat of a decent, they got 45 games left. So, 45 games. Anyhow, if he does well, if they at least get to 500 in those 45 games, does he get looked at? So it's going to be interesting to see how kind of all this sort of plans out and shake out, because it can't get any worse for the White Sox, can it?
Can it? But Grady Sizemore is in the same position that Miguel Cairo was in back in 2022 when Tony La Russa had to take a leave of absence because he was sick. Now, the team did play well initially, but until they met up with the Cleveland Guardians, who ended up winning that division that year, and the White Sox fell apart. But I think the kind of same thing is going to happen here with Grady Sizemore. And it's not all Grady Sizemore's fault. Of course, the Sox are nowhere near the playoffs like they were a couple years ago under Miguel Cairo, but I think this team will play hard. You got a bunch of young guys trying to prove themselves that they can stay in the major leagues, whether it's with the White Sox or somewhere else. But I think what's going to happen here is Grady Sizemore, if he does a good enough job, I think he'll get the opportunity to interview with the White Sox. But I don't think this job is his after this season concludes. Now, could Grady Sizemore be a future manager down the road? We'll see. These 45 games or so left will really tell the tale. That's how I look at it.
Oh boy, it'll be very interesting to see. And like I said, I mean, the part of that, we'll look. Will Ryan Sorfield put his foot in here like he usually does and say, well, you know what? Hey, hire this guy. Will it really be Chris Getz? Will it be apparently some people are saying that maybe Tony La Russa will be part of the searching process. So you might have too many.
He will be one way or the other.
So you wonder if it's going to be like too many cooks in the kitchen again. So yeah, to be continued, as I say, these next 6 weeks. So with that said, let's go across town and talk some good baseball. The Cubs sort of sneakily kind of like getting back in the wild card front. And also too, getting a little bit tight over there in the AL East, and a whole lot more still. Like Keenan McGee, Cindy Brown, Second City Sports, Sports of Chicago, Diamond Talk on the field coming up right after this.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too.
These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver. I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you, your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. This is the hashtag Friday Friday edition, the first one for the month of August. I'm Sid. That's Lakina. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow my Keenan McGee on the Twitter, executes again the IG.
We have less than 85 minutes left of this extravaganza. We call it a Sports Talk Radio Show. If you have any questions or comments, you can always hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments to the comments section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you. In an Olympic update, Lakina from Paris, France. It looks like the USA women's track team will win the 4x100 meter relay.
No, we're not doing play-by-play here. We're just giving you guys updates. You got all these.
Yeah, the race has been over 2 minutes.
I'll say, they just started running. They just finished running in a very pretty thrilling finish there too, led by Sha'Carri Richardson. She gets her gold after missing out on a 100-meter goal. But I'm sure, look, if you guys take a chance to watch it, we'll talk more Olympics in a second here. But first, let's stay on the diamond and let's talk some Cubs. Kind of quietly, if you will. They won 2 out of 3 against Minnesota. And look, they've taken care of business, doing what they need to do. And look, they've been playing very well. It looks like everything's meshing finally at the same time. So that helps a little bit. Ian happened Michael Busch a homer to on Wednesday to get the rematch of that series against the Twins. So they face the White Sox tonight. Now they do face Cleveland with next week, but after them, most of the teams they play are kind of near or below 500. So they might have a chance to maybe gain some ground here in that wild card spot later this in this next month. So they're kind of like quietly, and I guess you're great counsel and the rest of the group, and you're kind of preferring it this way, actually.
Yeah, didn't we say this back in June, Lakina? You had this 24 out of the 27 games was against below 500 teams, and they finished below 500 for the month. Maybe this time things will be different. As we said before, we're starting to see signs of them coming together and putting some series wins together. They take 2 out of 3 against the Minnesota Twins. The only hiccup was this past Monday. Cal Hendricks, I didn't think he pitched that badly. He just made a couple of mistakes, and the Twins pounded him on it. But let's give credit to Shota Imanaga. As I told you, he's the team's MVP. 10 strikeouts and 1 walk through 7 innings. I know he gave up a lot of hits. He gave up 10, but he kept the Cubs in the ballgame until the Cubs offense finally woke up, winning 7-3. And of course, they put up, I believe, 8 runs on Wednesday to win that ball game. Isaac Paredes, after that bat throwing error in the Cardinal series, it looks like his bat has started to come around. He mentioned he had a great game on Tuesday. This past Wednesday, Ian Happ, I don't like him in the leadoff spot, but he did come up with 1 hit. And also, too, Mike Topman came up with a couple big hits in this series, including the one on Wednesday to really break the game open. So it looks like slowly but surely this Cubs offense has finally started to come together. Now Cody Bellinger is back, and so we'll see what happens as they take on the lowly White Sox this weekend starting tonight. Your pitching matchups for the Crosstown Showdown. Tonight, you'll have Jameson Taillon at 7-6 versus Garrett Crochet at 6-8. And, of course, tomorrow's game, which will be on Fox, you'll have Justin Steele versus Chris Flexen. So realistically, Lakina, do you expect your Cubs to sweep this series, or as I think most, if you go and buy baseball common sense, this 2-game series will probably be split?
Yeah, it probably is. I mean, that Crochet Taillon matchup should be very interesting later on tonight, and it's gonna be interesting to see, like you said, the Cubs and with everything else. I mean, like I said, they played Cleveland on Monday. Like I said, after that, they played Toronto, Detroit, Miami, Pittsburgh. They're starting to fall off a little bit. the Nationals, and they got Pittsburgh at Wrigley. So they get a little bit of and then after that, of course, they play the Yankees and the Dodgers. But the good thing is that look, they got some time to make up some ground, and I think if you're Craig Counsell and that group, you're going to have to kind of like take it one series at a time. We can't be looking ahead to those White Sox, because the White Sox are going to be playing hard, so you can't look beyond that. So you got to take one series at a time. You can't really worry about what the other teams are doing ahead. You can always concentrate on what you're doing. So if you're the Cubs, just take care of business, and hopefully the rest will fall into place.
Yeah, like you said, you can't look past any opponent right now. You did that for the month of June, and you're in a situation that you're in right now. Like you said, like Kennedy, we talked about what the Cubs need to do to get back in this race, win series, take it one inning at a time, one pitch at a time. Just do the little things. I know this lineup is a home run hitting lineup, but take what the pitchers can give you, and you use situational hitting, situational base running, which they have improved on a lot. As we said before, too, the starting pitcher has been this team saving grace. So just situational hitting, smart base running to go along with that consistent starting pitch, and I think you'll be okay. And let's give props to that Cubs bullpen. They were the story as well in their victory last Wednesday. So over the last couple of weeks, even with the departure of Mark Leiter Jr. via trade to the New York Yankees, quietly this Cubs bullpen has really been consistent.
I know, we never thought we would say that considering what was happening. Just imagine if they were like this earlier in the year, they wouldn't be in this situation. But again, I digress.
Exactly.
I think they got like among the lowest ERA since the All-Star break. So, they're doing something right. They're finally starting to figure it out. They're kind of all meshing well. So hopefully they can keep it going. They're 5 back in that last spot in that wild card with the Mets. We'll get to them in a second. Against because it kind of get a little bit dicey in some of these divisional races, but it should be interesting. But yeah, I mean, look, just take at least split the series with the White Sox. Ideally, you'll win both. And then after that, you got that nice little run of against teams that are not very good. So hopefully, just take it one series at a time. Like you said, one pitch at a time. And we'll see what happens.
You're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. City Keenan here with you, talking Cubs, White Sox, and the best and worst of Major League Baseball. If you have any questions or comments for us regarding the Cubs, Sox, or MLB in general, you can hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in your questions or comments in the comments section. We will get them up on the screen for you. All right, Lakina, let's go to the rest of the diamond. Shine bright like a diamond. The Philadelphia Phillies, it looks like they're regaining a throne as being the top team in the National League. They take 2 out of 3 in Los Angeles against the Dodgers. Lakina, I said that I think it's going to be the Phillies. They're the best team in the National League right now. They probably are the best team in baseball. I know the Dodgers do not have everybody healthy. I know Freddie Freeman just got back. Thank goodness that his son's health scare, it looks like it's starting to improve in a good way. Thank goodness. I know that Mookie Betts isn't back yet. I know their bullpen, I'm talking about the Dodgers, is in shambles right now as manager Dave Roberts is trying to find a closer. But the Philadelphia Phillies are playing well right now, even though it's starting to get a little congested in the NLEs. We'll talk about in a second, or maybe some separation. But the Philadelphia Phillies, they took care of business against the Dodgers out there on the left coast.
Yeah, I mean, they're still like 8 up in Atlanta. We'll talk about Atlanta in a second because they're starting to kind of free fall a little bit. JT Mamuto, he homered for the first time since late May. And Bryce Harper and Trey Turner had big home runs on Wednesday they won their first opening series against the Dodgers, but it was really their pitching and their hitting that kind of helped as well. Like you said, so they really needed this about as much, just as bad, if not more, than the Dodgers did. So I'm very glad for them, and they look with the 2 teams behind them that are not doing very well. Maybe we'll get to that in a second, but I think the Phillies are trying to right the ship a little bit. I know some Philly fans, because I know a couple, they were kind of starting to freak out a little bit, but you know what? Like, I guess it's this winning 2 out of 3 at Dodger Stadium against the Dodgers. I think that should help a little bit.
And speaking of the NLEs and the Atlanta Braves, they got swept by the Milwaukee Brewers. Check this out, Lakina. In the 3-game sweep of the Milwaukee Brewers, the Atlanta Braves pitching staff had gave up a total of 34 runs, including 10 runs in the opener on Monday. And then, of course, on Wednesday, 16-7 the football score. Lakina, we talked about their offense needed to turn it around. it's the start pitching looks like it's starting to give out right now. And for Brian Snicker, their manager, it's like things are heading downhill. Now we said that we thought that the Braves were shooing for those two wild card spots. Now being swapped by Milwaukee and your pitching staff, especially your starting pitching being exposed, things are not looking well right now. I'm not throwing dirt on them yet because it's baseball, anything can happen. But this is what we talk about every year. These are the dog days of summer, and you just got to man up and muscle through and pull through. And Atlanta's facing that challenge right now.
Yeah, they've lost 5 in a row, and you hope that maybe they can kind of figure things out because August, like we've been saying, time is of the essence, and you really can't afford to these next 45, 46 games. You can't really afford to have this kind of a skid like this. So hopefully Atlanta can figure it out. It's going to be interesting to see if they can, but I hope they can, because I think that team, even with the injuries, they're still very talented, but they need to kind of get it going here. So we'll see what happens. Now, the Mets, they went 2 out of 3 at Coors Field, so that should definitely help them. Now they're in second place. Don't know if they're going to be able to get in, give Philly. Maybe they will, because I know they do play Philly a couple of times in the next few weeks. But yeah, I mean, the Mets, Pete Alonso, he homered twice. In that rubber match of that series. So hopefully they can kind of get it going. But I don't know. I mean, look, the Mets, you never know what you're going to get.
Yeah. Also, too, Francisco Lindor had a big two RBI single in that game on Wednesday to kind of seal that win for New York. The problem with the New York Mets has been their bullpen. I know they made a couple of trades at the trade deadline to assure that position, but their starting pitching actually has been slightly above average. I know Sean Manaea has looked great in his last 2 starts. And you mentioned about their offense with Pete Alonso and Francisco Lindor. Jeff McNeil, their second baseman, who's been, I know he's cooled off a little bit, but he's been having had a little hot streak for the last couple of weeks. So looks like things are starting to come together enough for the Mets. Could they be a scary team if they get in? Maybe, but I got to see a little bit more. But right now, even though they have had that trouble so far on the left coast thus far, you still, it's nice to see them still 6 games above 500.
Could be interesting to see, is considering what happened earlier with the Mets. I guess you pretty much feel like you've won something. You consider where they were earlier, so we'll see what happens with them. Now going out west, things are getting a little bit dicey in the West. We thought that maybe the Dodgers were starting to figure things out. They lose 2 out of 3 to Philadelphia, and then now the Padres have swept the Pirates. Some very irritating games. The last 2 I know in Pittsburgh were back and forth. So maybe Luis Arias, he had a 3-run home. 3-run night double to kind of steal that win to complete the sweep. So I don't know what to think about the Padres. Just we thought that maybe they figured things out. They do something really insane. They play the Marlins, so watch they probably lose 2 out of 3 in Miami. So I don't know, but yeah, I mean they're starting to kind of get it going, but they did suffer a couple of big injuries.
Yeah, the Padres, we'll get to injuries in just a second, but the Padres starting pitching, which has been their, not this, I don't want to say Achilles heel, but it's been their rock too, just like the Cubs to a smaller extent this year. It's been a huge turnaround for them thus far in the last couple of weeks, but in this series in particular, their starting pitching, I'm talking about the Padres, was null and void. But, their bats are starting to come around. You're talking about Manny Machado, you're talking about Jackson Profar, the Merrill kid, the outfielder who should be in contention for National League Rookie of the Year. He's starting to come on right now. So their bats are finally starting to rake up. Don't forget about Fernando Tatis Jr. So the Padres, like you mentioned in your mini monologue, they've been consistently inconsistent all year. So with them sweeping Pittsburgh on the road, this should give them confidence to finish out that road trip strong. You're playing 3 in Miami starting tonight. And as we said before, these are the dog days of summer. And if you're a good team trying to make it to the playoffs, you have to take care of business no matter where you play them against the lesser 500 teams.
Could be just to see if maybe the Padres, starting to kind of right the ship a little bit. Another team looks like they're starting to right the ship is the Diamondbacks. They're now 3.5 back. They did lose the opener yesterday to the Phillies, but it looks like maybe they're starting to figure it out there. They they swept the Guardians.
Yeah, I kind of like the way Arizona's playing right now, and their offense is starting to come alive a little bit. I know Christian Walker has cooled off a little bit, but he was one of the best hitters in Major League Baseball in late June, coming into July. Of course, you still have Corbin Carroll, and you led by Zach Gallen in that young pitching staff. So you have to give Torrey LaVille, their manager, great credit because they struggled for the first couple months of the season. Now they finding their way back. Can they hold on like they did a year ago? It's still in question, but you kind of like where they're playing, the way they're playing right now. And they're definitely playing their best, especially against better teams. You saw what they did against the Dodgers early in the year. You saw what they did against Cleveland on the road, and I know they're playing Philadelphia right now in this 4-game series at home over the weekend, a rematch of last year's NLCS. So Arizona, you can say, "Oh, look who they beat." Well, they doing this against good teams as well. So, and that's the measure of a good team if you could beat good teams consistently.
Could be interesting to see if they can kind of get it going there. Now going to the Central real quick. We talked about it. The Brewers, after losing 2 out of 3 to the Nationals, looks like they needed a little bit of a pick me up. They sweep Atlanta, and it looks like they're starting to kind of get it going too because they've been been flat the last couple weeks.
Yeah, I know Trevor Williams, that closer, returned last week. I know Christian Yelich is out for the year, but as I said before all year, I'll say it again. The Milwaukee Brewers are the National League's version of the Tampa Bay Rays. You know, they do the little things right. They don't have the big, sexy names in their lineup. I know you have Willie Adames, you have Terrain, and they play situational baseball. They're led by their strong starting pitching. Don't forget about Freddie Peralta. They have a very good bullpen, and they just do the little things right. Situational here, hitting, great defense, and when you get that on a consistent basis, you're very tough to beat. Like I said before. Now, regarding the Cubs, I think chasing Milwaukee down for the division is over, even though those two don't play each other anymore this year. But Milwaukee can be a tough team come playoff time if everyone else above them is healthy. But when you start to win games like that and you start to gain confidence, you're going to be tough to beat.
Sorry, folks. My bad. I got the we got the Olympics going on right now, and a little update. Spoiler alert: if you don't want to watch this, wait and watch this tonight. The men's 4x100 meter relay. Unfortunately, the U.S. men. It's always freaking something with the freaking 4x1 relays. They messed up in that second baton pass, and of course, Noah Lyles. Unfortunately, we'll be over with COVID. We'll get to all that later on. But yeah, Canada wins gold. Looks like GB, Great Britain, they win silver, and I think US just got. I think they just barely got in the bronze position. Like we'll talk about that in a second. But
can't blame it on the rain, huh?
No, you cannot. No, yeah, I was say yeah, it is raining over there in Paris right now, but not too bad. But yeah, the tracking ticket pretty well. But back to baseball, and look, it's going to be interesting, though. I mean, I kind of feel like it's sort of, that central look. I mean, St. Louis, you kind of think that maybe they're starting to kind of catch up. They don't have a good week, so I think that central. Could Milwaukee take control of that central? Perhaps not look back. We'll have to wait and see. Now going to the AL, it's still tied between in the East. Still tied between the Orioles and the Yankees. Both teams, didn't have a good week this week. They lose 2 out of 3. I should say the Orioles did against Toronto. Vlad Jr. Extending his hitting streak to 20. It'll be interesting though to see if I guess the only good thing if you're a Yankees fan, you gotta be feeling pretty good. I guess the fact that the Orioles are doing too well themselves, so you're still kind of right there neck and neck.
But if you're the Yankees, you got to get the bullpen situation straightened out. And you still got to have guys come back healthy like Giancarlo Stanton. As I said before, and I'll say it again, Aaron Judge is your top leader for AL MVP. We all know about Juan Soto. The Yankees, as they started off hot with their starting pitcher, has taken a nosedive here lately. They got to get back on track. So will the Yankees make the playoffs? I believe so, but it's got to be led by their starting pitching, because it's been a seesaw for the last month and a half or so. They're still a good team, but I need to see them do it on a consistent basis. Now with Baltimore, they're going through a bad stretch right now. I don't think this is going to hurt them too much. It's just that they got to get out of this and get back to winning baseball. I know they split with Cleveland last weekend, and they still on finished up on the road on a bad note, losing 2 out of 3 to Toronto. So both teams are just going. No, I don't want to say go through the motion, but they're just going through a bad streak right now, and you got to turn it around mentally, and you got to do the little things just to help yourself get back on track. But I still do believe that both these teams will get into the playoffs and they can possibly do damage.
Yeah, like I said, it's gonna be interesting to see like which one of these two teams, kind of get that edge here because I think they do play each other within the next couple of weeks. So it's gonna be interesting to see like who has the edge and where these teams are gonna be at this point. So should be interesting in that division now. Boston's 5.5 back. We talked about Cleveland. Tough week for them, and of course the Twins they lose 2 out of 3, so they're 3.5 back. And but yeah, Kansas City, Bobby Witt Jr. Maybe a case for AL MVP perhaps, and yeah, they're still right there. To think of it at 4 back in the Central.
Well, the Kansas City Royals management actually did something right by paying that guy almost $200 million. I guess they knew what they were doing, unlike the White Sox, but I digress. But, I've been in and out of that Kansas City Royals bandwagon, Lakina, all year long. I know that the Red Sox took 2 out of 3 from them, but I think Kansas City is going to be a pest, and they'll cause some problems from some teams who's trying to move ahead of them as far as the AL wildcard is concerned. Boston, I don't know how they're doing it, Lakina, to be honest with you. I know they're 9 games above 500 right now. I still like Rafael Devers, their all-star third baseman. He can do it all. He can pick it. He can hit it. He can catch it. So, and Boston, I'm not going to say quietly. It's not really quietly anymore since you mentioned they're 5.5 back of taking the AL East. Do I think they'll have enough to overtake New York and Boston? New York and Baltimore? No, but I think they're in a better position to take one of those 3 wild card spots.
Just an update here for the men. The U.S. actually missed winning any kind of medal. Canada first, South Africa, then Great Britain. They win the bronze. So yeah,
wow.
So it's always freaking something with the men in the 4x100 meter relays. But all right, let's get to I mean, look, it'll be interesting in that the Red Sox, just when you thought that maybe they could figure it out, that they do something kind of silly. So can they perhaps maybe they may have something to say who wins the AL East? We'll see. But I mean, Boston, I'm kind of, I know Devers has been really solid lately, so it'll be interesting to see what they do the rest of these next few weeks. Going out west, sort of the same thing with the East. Nobody really wants to win that division apparently because the Mariners and the Astros are both still tied, even after recording this from a couple of days ago. So they did. I'm talking about the Astros. They did win 2 out of 3 against Texas, so that should help them a little bit. But on the flip side, though, Seattle, they're still right there breathing down their necks. They did lose 2 out of 3, but they're still tied in the West AL West.
What happened to your Mariners, Lakina? Those pesky Tigers came up calling and take 2 out of 3. Good grief. It looks like offensively it's going to be a challenge for the Mariners again. They scored 2 runs each in those first 2 losses. Of course, they doubled up and scored 4 total in the last game to win the last game of that series on Wednesday. But the Astros, as we told you guys a couple months ago, they could be coming. Looks like they're starting to get some guys back. And what I'm worried about with that Astros is their bullpen. But as they did last year, they had to get into the playoffs by doing it offensively. It looks like the same script is happening again. But I want to say this about the Texas Rangers, Lakina. And like I said before about a couple other teams, you never know because this is baseball. But I'm starting to get a small hint, and I do mean a small hint that you can throw some dirt on this year's version of the Rangers. I know they had a lot of injuries to start off the year. I get it. And they did a great job trying to get back into it. But I think you're starting to see the signs of them finally starting to run out of time.
Yeah, you can tell a lot of them are starting to run out of gas too. Like you said, the injuries are catching up to them. And just when you thought that maybe they can kind of get it going, they took like about 5 steps back. So it's going to be interesting to see if I'm not ready to write them off just yet. I'll give them maybe another week or 2. But if they don't get it going here, perhaps maybe challenge. They're still about 5 back in the AL wild card because we see weird things happen. But unless we get that sense that they can kind of get it going, it might be curves for them, but we'll see.
Back to the National League real quickly, Kim, before we get to the schedule for this weekend's action. The San Francisco Giants, they take 3 out of 4 from the Washington Nationals in our nation's capital. They're at 500 at 58 and 58. Do you take them seriously to make a serious wild card push in the National League?
I think, you know what? I think the Giants, if we've seen the Giants that we saw the last few weeks, I think they can definitely be right there because, like I said, it's a logjam, that National League wild card, especially. So, could they perhaps maybe get get in? I think look, the pitching has to be real solid. Of course, we talked about Blake Snell and that no hitter last week, and they really need to kind of get going on the hitting side as well. But yeah, I'm intrigued by the Giants as usual. All right,
here's your schedule for this weekend's action in Major League.
Go ahead.
Okay, here's your schedule for this weekend's action in Major League Baseball. The Cleveland Guardians and the Minnesota Twins will start a doubleheader coming up in a few minutes. Other action, the Anaheim Angels will take on the Washington Nationals in our nation's capital. Baltimore and Tampa Bay will do battle in St. Petersburg. The Oakland Athletics, who took 2 out of 3 from the White Sox at home, they'll visit Toronto to take on the Blue Jays. Houston will battle Boston in Fenway Park. San Diego will take on the Miami Marlins. The Cubs and the White Sox, we mentioned the 2-game series in Sox Park this weekend starts tonight. First game on Apple TV Plus will have Cincinnati at Milwaukee. The other Apple TV Plus game will see the second game of that Cleveland Minnesota Twins doubleheader. Other action, St. Louis will visit Kansas City. The Battle of the 85 World Series, the remix. Atlanta will face Colorado. Philadelphia will continue their 4-game series in Arizona against the Diamondbacks. The Mets and the Mariners will do battle this weekend. Lakina, I think you'll have fun watching that one. The Pirates will visit Los Angeles to take on the Dodgers. Don't forget Paul Skeens of the Pirates. He'll pitch tomorrow in Dodger Stadium. He'll make his Dodger Stadium debut tomorrow. And, of course, the Tigers will take on the San Francisco Giants. And, of course, the Texas Rangers and the New York Yankees will do battle in the Bronx this weekend. Friday night's game has been postponed due to rain. They'll make it up tomorrow. Your national TV schedule looks like this. Most of the country will get on Fox Saturday Baseball, most of the country, I believe, will get the Houston-Boston matchup. And, of course, in the Midwest, you'll get the Cubs and the White Sox. Coverage begins tomorrow at 6 p.m. only on Fox.
Just a correction there. It'll be Baltimore and Tampa Bay, the other game of that Fox regional doubleheader. I think most of America will get that game. The Houston-Boston game, that'll be on FS1 tomorrow.
I stand corrected.
Yeah, and the Roku TV game.
I stand corrected.
Yeah, no problem. No worries. The Roku TV game of the week on Sunday will be the Angels and the Nationals. Sorry, folks. That'll be at 10:35 on Roku. So when you watch a replay of our show, you can go to their show. And, of course, the Sunday night game will be the Mets and the Mariners. Coverage, of course, begins at 6 o'clock on ESPN. And that's your schedule for this weekend in MLB.
All right, hour number 1 in the books. Hour number 2 straight ahead. You're listening to the Friday edition of Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. The Bears will have their second tune-up of the preseason as they'll take on the Buffalo Bills on the road tomorrow. And we'll finally see the pro debut of one Mr. Caleb Williams. We'll have another list for you from the NFL, which I dug up from the internet. And we'll review the 2 preseason games that we saw on tap last night. And we'll give you our Cisco Eber review from Hard Knocks that aired earlier this week. That and the Olympic wrap-up to wrap up the show. That and a whole lot more as you stay right there, right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
No, I don't know, though. I'm scared. I mean, you're so...
Do you know that you're in my lane? No, not at all. Are you not paying attention? Are you texting? I was just checking in with my mom. I was telling her that I thought we'd be home by 6. It's okay. There's enough time. Just pay attention. I'm not even halfway through my text. There's no way. I'm not even going to look up. My babies are in the car. You have to pay attention. It's just supposed to be a quick text. I'm so sorry.
Hi, I'm Tom Brady, the director of DODEA. September is National Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month. The simple act of reaching out and caring for those in our communities is something we all can do. Just being there for someone you care about can be a tremendous first step in getting them access to confidential resources and support that they need. It only takes one person and one small act and 1 minute to make a difference. Let's make a difference.
Many will hear the calling. Few will earn the title. United States Marine. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Second City Sports, the hashtag Friday Fun Edition, the first one for the month of August. We're live in living color right here on Sports Soul Chicago, along with Mr. Keena McGee, which is she. I am Sydney Brown. That's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can find my Keena McGee on the Twitter, X, and the IG.
We have less than an hour left for this extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show. If you have any questions or comments for us, especially as we talk Chicago Bears and the NFL, you can hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you. And just a daily reminder, you can catch Sports Zone Chicago live in living color on Roku TV.
Okay, Sid, time for Bears and NFL. We'll get to episode 1 of Hard Knocks in just a second here, but on Saturday, tomorrow, the Bears will face the Bills, and it looks like all the starters of Caleb Williams, Roma Duzan, and the rest of the starters will be, at least for one series in the game tomorrow, and, you know, I'm still a little bit concerned with that O-line, of course, because I think Ryan Bates is a little banged up. So, okay, here we go. And Nate Davis hasn't played a lot. Practiced a lot, I should say, this training camp. So I'm a little bit worried. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I don't think we should make any assumptions whether or not Caleb does, good or bad in his debut. But it'll be interesting to kind of see if it's now like at least progress, I guess, right?
Yeah. And here's we heard all the talks in training camp about Caleb Williams being progressive in this offense, learning new information, sometimes being ahead of some of his teammates and learning the new offensive coordinator Shane Waldron's offense. And we also heard too on the flip side that they've been struggling against this defense so far in training camp. Some good moments, some bad moments, and practicing against arguably the top 5 defense in the NFL. Well, all that training and all those hours working in the weight room and in the classroom, it's going to come to fruition in some sort of form or fashion tomorrow. Now, am I going to make everything about this, Lakina, as the quote-unquote final test run? No, because as you mentioned, especially if they play one series or even 2 series, we're not going to learn anything new about the Chicago Bears. Now, would like to see a couple things from Caleb Williams. Can he throw the deep ball, and can he adjust to what the defense gets him on the fly? That's what I'm looking forward to tomorrow. And number two, I know Tevin Jenkins, we talked about in our last episode, Lakina, he was injured early in the week. I know he said in his presser yesterday that he wants to play if
Mhm.
Caleb's going to play, which is I think is a good sign because and we'll talk about this a little bit deeper on Hard Knocks from Hard Knocks later. But you could tell that his teammates necessarily gravitate towards Caleb and say, "Hey, this is your offense. You're in control of this thing. Let's go. You're the leader. Hey, lead us." And you can tell many of his teammates have started to gravitate to Caleb Williams. So it's going to be interesting thing to see what will the Bears do as far as Caleb Williams tomorrow.
I mean, the defense, of course, they've been John at Williams, the rest of the offense at practice. So, gonna be interested to see kind of like how all this sort of plays out. Like I said, I think on either side, either way, I don't think anybody should make any assumptions or make any other declarations after like what we were saying. They may play like one series at most, maybe two. So it's going to be interesting to see if if the Bears how the Bears look during these last, because remember they can only have so many padded practices. So don't be surprised if you kind of like hear and see some
Mm-hmm.
things that might throw some folks off. So it's going to get a little bit tight. And like I said, they're not going to show you the whole playbook. I know Shane Waldron's not going to do the whole playbook, year on. So it's going to be interesting to see if we see anything of note. And will we see guys like Keenan Allen, who doesn't really play much the preseason anyway, if you know his career over with the Chargers.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be interesting to see like how all this kind of plays out, like who plays, who doesn't play, how much they play, and kind of like how everyone looks.
And also, too, on the flip side for the defense, looking a few of the veteran guys sat out of yesterday's practice, and half the secondary of the Bears sat out practice. I know Montez Sweat sat out practice. I don't know if he's going to play tomorrow or not. I don't even know if some of the members of that secondary is going to play tomorrow. So I'm interested to see either way how this Bears defense looks against the first team of Buffalo. Josh Allen and most of their offensive starters are going to play tomorrow. So assuming that most of the main guys are healthy for the Bears defensively, I want to see how they do against this new version of the Buffalo Bills offense. No more Stephon Diggs. I know they had their new offensive coordinator in. I want to see if he plays tomorrow. This second round pick, the wide receiver Keon Coleman. I want to see how he looks against this Bears defense if he's able to play tomorrow.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting there as well. Now, Buffalo's are the same thing. They basically had to like get rid of a lot of their guys because of cap. So Josh Allen's going to have like a lot of some some old faces, but also some new faces too. So it's going to be interesting to see how they will look in their defense. So yeah, I don't want to say for Sean McDermott it's really like a make or break year for him, but for Buffalo, it looks like it could
It
be,
is.
especially since they've been underachieving the last few years. And Diggs is gone, a couple other guys are gone too. So it's really gonna be tough for Buffalo, especially in the AL East, especially with Miami. Now that they paid to all that money. So it's gonna kind of be a little bit of a gap there. We'll see how the Patriots look. Pretty much a brand new Patriots squad with new coaching staff, with Jared Mayo leading the way and whatnot. And of course Drake May. We'll talk about their early preseason game in a second. But yeah, this is going to be interesting to see how Buffalo looks too. I mean, it's going to be fascinating though, because remember, Buffalo, it was just a couple years ago, people thought they were going to go to the Super Bowl. So did we. But that turned out not to be the case.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I said, it's a lot of pressure on the Buffalo Bills coaching staff and the whole organization. So as you mentioned, them underachieving the last few years, especially you're in the conference where Kansas City has dominated. You got to find a way to get past them. And the Buffalo Bills are one of many teams that haven't been able to do that. So we'll see. This will be their year. Another fascinating note from practice over the last couple of days, Lakina, for the Bears. Velus Jones, who I think who should be cut, but I don't know if that's going to happen, to be realistic. But he has some snaps at practice on offense at running back. I don't think you're going to see him with the first team. I guarantee you that. But if head coach Matt Eberflus and offensive coordinator Shane Waldron will decide to use Velus Jones at running back tomorrow, I want to see what kind of package, what it looks like, because we may see that a time or two during the regular season. It sounds nice, but it's just a mystery to me on that one. I know you want to make Velus Jones more valuable. I know he's been struggling for the most part ever since he's been in the Bears uniform. He's a decent kick returner, not a good wide receiver. So trying to run back, I guess the Bears are looking at it as one aspect. Oh, it's surprise element in air quotes. And number two, we have nothing to lose, so we'll see if we can quote unquote build up his value.
Could be interesting to see if they can build that value because he's going to want a new contract. So well, we'll see what happens there. As I can see, sports with Chicago, Lakeem McGee, Cindy Brown with you. Let's talk about these. Let's talk these two preseason games that aired last night before we go into Hard Knocks. 17-3, the Patriots beat the Panthers, and Drake May, of course, the rookie QB for the Patriots. We didn't really see too much of him, so we'll see if they can kind of, it's mostly Bailey Zappi and Joe Milton the third. So Zappi had threw for 106 yards, no touchdowns, really kind of uneventful. Jack Plummer, 86 yards there. Jake Luton. So it was really like kind of a bunch of sort of like no names, but yeah, it was kind of a meh game, if you will, for the Patriots. But the Patriots get the win.
I didn't get a chance to see a whole game. I just saw the highlights. I know that Bryce Young, I believe it's in his third year now. No, his second, going into his second year as a starter for Carolina out of Alabama. He didn't play last night. Plummer, what's the starting? What was that?
No. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm a little distracted by the France. I'm watching France, Spain, and men's soccer semifinal. Okay. Sorry, there is extra time.
We're doing this live, folks, for those of you watching us live. But yes. Plummer got the start last night for Carolina. I know he had 86 yards passing in total. You saw no offense from that Carolina team, and I don't want to make too much of it, but it was just watching some of the highlights. Just like blah. It looks like New England. I'm not saying they're going to the Super Bowl or anything like that. I know they're starting a new era and former player, now new head coach Gerard Mayo. It looks like their defense is solid. Once again, we talked about it for the last couple of years, but they're just a bunch of young guys who are active. They're flying to the ball, and they're trying to identify themselves as a team. But it's going to be a challenge for them offensively. Like you said, they have Drake May, but we got to see him in action this preseason to know more about this Patriots offense, probably as a team as a whole.
We'll see what happens there. Now, the second game that was on last night, the Giants beat the Lions 14-3. Again, another game. If that's how you want to look at it. None of the starters played for Detroit, so it was really kind of like the second and third stringers, showing there, and Detroit was sort of meh. I mean, again, it's sort of another blog game, but it's okay. I mean, I guess in the preseason, you're just trying to get reps, especially for those teams that are only playing 3 games. You definitely just want to just give the second, third stringers a chance to try to make the main roster.
Yeah, Eric Gray for the New York Football Giants, their starting running back. He had 2 touchdowns last night. I know that Torrey DeVito, who's still trying to hang on to keep a job in the league, who was the feel-good story last year for the New York Football Giants. He was 8-15 for 92 yards. Not too much offense outside those 2 rushing touchdowns there. You mentioned Detroit; they really didn't play anybody in terms of their starters. And number 2, it was nice to hear Phil Simms last night. I know the game aired locally on Fox 5 in New York. I know Bob Papa, who's the radio voice of the Giants during the regular season, he did the TV broadcast last night. It was nice to see Phil Simms doing some game action again. I know he's no longer with the NFL on CBS, but it was nice to see him and hear him last night.
You might see him a little bit there during the Giants game, so we'll see if that's the case there. But yeah, so another meh game. But so Detroit, we're just trying to get the guys there. So we'll see what happens there. Now going to the scheduling for the preseason of week 1 officially. We got the Falcons and the Dolphins. They'll be streaming on NFL Plus. Houston and Pittsburgh, they'll be on NFL Network Plus, streaming on NFL Plus. And you got Philadelphia and Baltimore, also streaming at 6:30 on NFL Plus.
All right, your schedule for tomorrow. Football is back, folks. Saturday, of course, we mentioned about the Bears and the Buffalo Bills. That's at high noon Central Standard Time on locally here in Chicago on Fox 32, nationally on NFL Network. If you miss any of these games, don't worry. NFL Network will have you covered by replaying these games all night and into the next day. Other games that are on the schedule for this weekend in the NFL: Washington visits the New York Jets. The Raiders will take on the Vikings. The Packers will travel to Cleveland and take on the Dog Pound, the Cleveland Browns. Cincinnati will host Tampa Bay. Kansas City and Jacksonville will do battle. And my computer effed up again. There we go. The 49ers will take on the Titans. Seahawks will take on the Chargers on Saturday night. And the Saints will battle the Cardinals to wrap up the Saturday night schedule. And we have a couple of games on Sunday. Both of them can be seen on NFL Network. First, the Broncos and the Colts at high noon, followed by the Cowboys and the Rams.
And both those games will be on NFL Network as well, so no need to forget NFL Plus. But like you said, so they're gonna repeat these games like throughout the week. So you'll just check your local listings for that, and that is your schedule for Week 1 in the preseason NFL.
You're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago City. Lakina here with you. If you have any thoughts about tomorrow's preseason contest between the Bears and the Buffalo Bills, what do you expect from the pro debut of Caleb Williams? Will he do good? Will he do bad? What's your predictions? What do you expect from this Bears defense? That and a whole lot more. You can go to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you. All right, Lakina, the first episode of HBO's Hard Knocks featuring the 2024 Chicago Bears training camp aired this past Tuesday night. I had a chance to finally watch it last night. I'll give it a solid B minus. I'll be a little bit petty here. I'll let you know why I am in just a second. But what were your thoughts about the first episode that aired earlier this week?
I thought it was really good. I thought it was very kind of like fast paced and like I think it was mentioned like a few times that they usually, the Bears are going to be kind of like the Bears brass is going to be part of what's going to be edited out. I mean, what's interesting was the fact that was Coach Eberflus meeting with now retired legendary head coach Nick Saban. He actually, Flus actually played for Saban, and he, coached under him when he was at Toledo his first few years in coaching. So that's people were wondering, why? Oh, wait a minute, why is Flus talking to Coach Saban? But that's what happened there. And yeah, I mean, I thought it was, like I said, it was a really solid B. I mean, I kind of like thought that maybe they would get more into it. I mean, it was great that they actually showed the footage with Jonathan Owens supporting his lovely and very talented wife, Miss Simone Biles, in Paris at the Olympics. I thought that was a really cool. You saw the photos and such in the videos, and of course when she won gold. That was really cool. But yeah, I thought again it gave me that nice little mix of what you usually see from Hard Knocks. So I wasn't really expecting anything huge, but again, we saw what was there to expect. I think.
What did you think about Ray Clay? I'm not gonna say he came out of the dead. I don't want to be disrespectful when I say that. I'm saying it tongue in cheek, but Ray Clay, I guess the paycheck was nice from HBO and the NFL Films. And they played the Bulls. We call it the Bulls thing, so it's actually from the Alan Parsons Project, Cyrus. But and now starting quarterback from Southern California, Caleb Williams. Still sounds good. Looks better, by the way. But I'm not gonna say you could have done without it. It was nice to see him again. To be honest with you, because he's disappeared for the last 20 years, but. I was like, it was nice seeing Ray Clay, but like I kind of found out about it before I watched it last night, so it wasn't as shocking to me. But I was like, Ray Clay coming out of nowhere. I kind of got the reason why they did that, but I'm not gonna say that he didn't deserve to be in. I know why they put him in there, but I get it for the whole entertainment aspect of it. But you can make an argument either way that you really didn't need that.
Mm-hmm. True. Yeah, that's
but
so true.
It was, on a personal note, it was nice to see him again. Hear him again.
Yeah, I think that was really
cool.
What
were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that was a kind of a nice surprise, like you said. I mean, he's kind of been happy with his retirement, so that's probably why he hasn't really had to work a lot the last year. I think he does stuff here and there, but I thought that was a nice little sentiment there. But like you said, it might have been a little bit much for my taste, but I guess they want to keep the Chicago flavor going, so sure, why not?
And what did you think about the rookie offensive lineman who's currently injured, Benedict, who busted out the Speedo during his rookie initiation in front of the team, singing "God Bless the USA." Now, I know my singing voice is horrible, but his was the worst. But he did get some love from his teammates, busting out the Speedo.
Yeah,
he won some hearts over with his teammates. I thought he was my MVP for the first episode.
that should have been a warning with that. Like, oh look, someone's gonna be wearing a speedo and singing horribly. Like, I don't know what was worse, him in a speedo or him his singing voice. That was a. But look, he was a good sport about it. Everyone had a nice laugh afterwards. So a little rookie ribbing, it's never a bad thing as long as they keep it friendly and light. Whatever. Like you see guys, rookies sing their college fight songs or whatever. So it's all
Mhm.
good fun.
What did you think about Caleb Williams? I know he couldn't sing. He was trying to attempt to sing John Legend's "Ordinary People." He couldn't even get out of the first lyric, and then they started throwing paper at him. Like I think they like him, but it was like you still need a little bit more seasoning before we fully embrace you. That's kind of what I took from it. That's me being the pessimist a little bit. We like you, but we're gonna get on you because you're the face of the franchise.
I guess as long as they keep it friendly, I think it's fine. But if it gets like too much, especially if they have a bad start, I don't
Hmm.
think anybody's gonna be laughing too much about it. So we'll see. I mean, like
Hmm.
I thought it was funny. The one thing that I'm seeing, like people, and I saw this online, people were like, "Oh, he has a little, a merce," as we call it. Like people, oh, it's a purse. Why does he have a purse? Look, it's a merce. Look, I think some guys usually have it. It might be it was the color that kind of threw guys off. I mean, if it was just like a black or something or blue, I don't think anybody would have, or would have Bears colors.
Hmm.
No one would have had a problem with it, but since it was it's like a silver grayish type of color, people had a big deal about it. I mean, whatever. I mean, okay, he has a merce. Whoop de doo.
Now, Colin Johnson did get some love, as we talked about when we had Christine on last week.
Mm-hmm.
That he was going to get some love on Hard Knocks, which he did. I know Liv Schreiber, the narrator, said, "Thanks, Joe," from a fan. And they played Joe Buck's soundbite. Like, Colin Johnson's
Mm-hmm.
going to get mentioned on the first episode of Hard Knocks. And sure enough, he did with those 2 touchdowns in last week's win over the Texas in the Hall of Fame game. Now, the one thing that I will be petty about as far as this episode, Lakina, and I ain't expect them to do the whole episode on these 3 gentlemen, but they did mention Steve McMichael, Julius Peppers,
Mm-hmm.
and David Hester both getting in. But I thought they would mention at least Mongo, give him at least a little bit more shine along with
Mm-hmm.
David Hester. But hopefully in the next episode, I doubt it. But hey, what do I know? That's the only thing that kind of bothered me. But other than that, it's your typical your first episode of training camp. Oh, here's the one thing I want to bring up. I want to bring up to you. What did you think about the Bears coaching staff busting out the slip and slide to had their 3 quarterbacks practicing how to slide? I thought that was awesome.
That was actually pretty cute. I think I've seen some other teams do that with their QBs. I think proper way to slide. So yeah, I think that's really cute.
Hmm.
That's a nice way to kind of avoid injury too. So there is a correct way to not a good way to slide. Head first, probably not a good idea. You want to kind of like just have a little bit of give so that you don't have to worry about hurting yourself or getting a concussion. So yeah, I thought that was really cool how they did that. I think a couple of other teams do something similar. So, I know Lamar Jackson's been doing that too, practicing how to slide. But yeah, I thought that was really cool. And like you said, I mean, I think you got to, especially in the NFL, they're going to be hard hitting. So, yeah. And yeah, the slide's going to be very cool. It's kind of going back to like, old, middle school days with the slip and slide.
And nice selection of the music from the late great DMX.
Mm-hmm.
Now, stop, drop, open up shop. That
Yeah,
was
I
a
love
nice
that.
music selection
Very
there.
nice touch.
A couple other notes, Lakina. Yeah, Jalen Johnson, you can tell he got fresh cash this offseason. Has a new, I don't want to say beater, but it looks nice. He drove it to training camp. He was driving it
Mm-hmm.
all through Lake Forest. He says he's going to drive it down to downtown Chicago. Good luck with that. To let you
Okay.
have
All right.
have our do you have a police escort? I'm
Escort.
just saying. And Matt Eberflus's haircut, along with his family, his wife and 2 daughters, were featured awful ton in the first episode.
Yeah, they were. So, and he has a very nice family. So that was actually pretty cute. But yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
Jalen Johnson. I would advise you not to do that. Just saying. I would advise you not to drive unless you have a security detail with you. No, no, no. Do not drive your car downtown. You're a new beater downtown. No, no, no. Not a chance.
Of course, the second episode of Hard Knocks will air this upcoming Tuesday, August the 13th at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, I believe, on HBO. Of course, if you miss it, you can subscribe to HBO Max, and they'll have those episodes up and on demand.
All right, so you got a list real quick. Let's get go through your list of top players to watch this season, every position. So who are we doing today?
Okay. In top ranking the best NFL defensive back duos ahead of the
Ooh,
2024 season. This comes to us from our good friends at Bleacher Report, and we'll just run through some of the duos quickly. At number 10, Cam Taylor, Britt, and Mike Hilton of the Cincinnati Bengals.
okay, good duo that doesn't really
Number
get a lot of
9,
attention.
Christian. Yeah,
Go ahead.
good. Yeah, good point. Christian. Yeah, Christian Benford and Rasul Douglas of the Buffalo Bills.
They're really gonna need them if they want to try to make a go at the AFC East.
Now, this next group is going to be a whole lot of pressure on them this year, given their team success and given the division that they play in. Number 8, Paulson Abdiel and Alante Taylor of the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah, the AFC, the NFC side, I should say, is pretty wide open. So yeah, they're gonna need a big year from them. They were very good last year.
Yep, check it in at number 7, Tyreek Stevenson and Jalen Johnson of the Chicago Bears. You know how much I'm looking forward to watching that secondary with the Bears in general this year.
Doing a lot of talking, Mr. Johnson. Now you got to back it up. So yeah, you got let's speak Green Bay first before you start doing your yapping. So but yeah, they're right where they should be, I think.
Number 6, Brandon Stevens and Marlon Humphrey of the Baltimore Ravens. I think this group is very underrated. If you know your football, you know about these two guys. But if you casually watch football, you don't know who these guys are. But they are very good at anchor that Baltimore secondary.
I think Humphrey, led the league in interceptions last year. Was like they're in the top 5, so they're definitely going to need a big year from them to especially in the tough AFC North.
All right, running down your top 5 defensive back tandems to watch this year in the NFL, according to Bleacher Report. Number 5, Charvarius Ward and Diamondor Lenore of the San Francisco 49ers. There's a whole lot of pressure on that San Francisco defense in general this year, considering the key guys they lost this offseason via free agency.
Yeah, that front 7 for the Niners. I mean, they're one of the top front 7s in the nation. Now they got to start playing like it. They kind of abandoned whatever the scheme was last year. I know the old DC got the boot. So yeah, they're going to need a big year from them, especially in the NFC West and beyond.
Number 4, Rick Woolen and Devon Witherspoon of the Seattle Seahawks. They're going through a transition right now with a new head coach, Pete Carroll, out, and their defense was kind of up and down last year, but their quarterback tandem duo had a good year last year in that secondary for the Hawks.
Could be interested to see if they can, get it going there, because I said that they're playing against the 49ers, the Rams. They'll still be pretty good. And also, too, Arizona might have something to say about that. So, yeah, I think that duo is going to have to do really well, especially in the year of with a brand new staff.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, within their own division alone, there's going to be a challenge every week. Number 3, Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed of the New York Jets.
They hung in there for as long as they could, but there was some injuries, of course, not only the Aaron Rodgers injury, but their injuries in defense as well. The defense actually kept the Jets afloat last year, so they really everyone's gonna have to stay healthy if they want to try to make a go at in the AFC East.
Number 2, Martin Emerson Jr. and Denzel Ward of the Cleveland Browns. Denzel Ward is a ball hawk. Like what the play that he had last year. He kept Cleveland in that playoff hunt. Of course, they got Joe Flacco after the injury to John Watts. You saw what they did offensively. But defensively, I like Denzel Ward. So I think he's primed to have another big year.
Yeah, especially in the AFC North. That's going to be very tough. So the defenses there are it could be a slugfest among those defenses.
And our guy, friend of the show from WVON, Ryan James, he's a big Dallas Cowboys fan. So if he's watching and listening, appreciate your support. Trayvon Diggs and Deron Bland of the Dallas Cowboys is ranked the number 1 quarterback tandem to watch for in 2024, according to Bleacher Report. Now, Deron Bland has 6 return interceptions for touchdowns. If he gets 1 or 2 this year, he's going to be lucky. I think teams are going to be looking for him this year, not to throw to him this year. I think he's going to get the poor man's Richard Sherman treatment. Trayvon Diggs, of course, we all know his story. He missed most of last year. So he's going to come back healthy and looking to bounce back to be one of the top corners in the league. But Deron Bland stepped up big time last year. I think he's still going to get a couple of interceptions, but 6 sixes. I don't think we're going to see that again for him this year. If he gets 1 or 2, he's going to be lucky. And I mean that with all due respect.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of guys are going to be throwing to them, so I don't think that's going to happen. I know he's going to want to prove something after what happened last year, after missing most of the season. But I think it should be interesting, especially in the NFC East. So that tandem is going to be loaded and something to watch for.
Yep. So that's your top 10 defensive back tandems to watch for in the NFL for this upcoming 2024 season, courtesy of Bleacher Report.
Another great list, Sid. All right, the last half hour or last few years of Second City Sports for Friday coming up next, as we'll talk some Olympic stuff, some great performances, some standouts, even a few upsets. Also, front of the show is going to be moving to the new network, a new network for the Blackhawks starting this fall. That and a whole lot more. Lakina McGee, Cindy Brown, Second City Sports, Sports of Chicago. More fun coming up right after this.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too. These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you, your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to Second City Sports, the hashtag Friday Fun edition, the first one for the month of August. We're live in 11 color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid, that's Lakina. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow Matt Keenan McGee on the Twitter, X, and again, the IG.
This is our last break of the show for today and for the week. So, you have any last minute questions or comments for us as we talk Olympics and sports media and anything else that you want to comment on that we talked about throughout our show? You can hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comments section. But get them up on the screen for you.
All right, Sid. So much to talk about for the Olympics. Now, where do you want to start?
Let's start off with the basketball. Of course, we'll start out with the USA men's basketball team. They will play for the gold medal against France tomorrow afternoon at 2:30 p.m. Central Standard Time on NBC. After getting by Serbia 95-91, Steph Curry was the man of the hour for the United States. People call him Chef Curry. Captain America. He was both those things yesterday, scoring 36 points, including 12 of 19 shooting overall. He hit 9 3-pointers. Bogan Bogdanovic from Serbia had 20 points. Nikolai Jokic had a decent game, but Serbia led by as many as 19 points, as many as 15 going into that fourth quarter. Lakina, I told you before we went on live that I thought going into that fourth quarter it was done for the United States because they couldn't contain any of their guards. I'm talking about Serbia's guards. They were shooting the lights out, especially from downtown in that first half. I know that Jokic only scored 9 points in that first half, but their guards just got off on the United States early and often. They were hot. And Dwayne Wade, I thought, said it best during that broadcast before USA started to come back in that fourth quarter. The USA's defense was terrible against the Serbian guards. They was given too much airspace, and that's why they got all the shots that they did. Now, Joel Embiid, after struggling early, he got some big baskets in that fourth quarter. Steve Kerr, the USA head coach, tightened up the rotation. Kevin Durant got some big buckets. Devin Booker, who I thought did not have a good game yesterday, he had a big bucket in that fourth quarter. LeBron James picked his spots and had some key baskets, but it was a hard-fought win for the U.S. I said they should have lost this game. I'm talking about the U.S., but they turned up that defense in the final 6 minutes, and they earned that 4-point victory.
Yeah, I mean, Chef was one of the reasons why the U.S. was in it. So hit big shots, and I think that's the most. I think that's the most 3-pointers that anybody has scored in one game in the Olympics. You got to go way back to I think Kobe did back in 2008. So that it's kind of a parallels there as well. And the last 15 points for the United States were scored by Steph, LeBron, and KD. So they were kind of like the big three there, if you will, for the United States. And look, I wasn't too worried, but Serbia. Serbia is a great squad. We know about Jokic, about Donovic, and the rest of that group. So you're always gonna get the best of Serbia in that department. So I think people need to kind of like give Serbia a little bit of credit here, but for hanging on there. Look, they do have to tighten up on that defense. Where's Jason Tatum? I know a lot of Celtics fans are still pissed about that. So you wonder why hasn't he been out there much? But to kind of beef up that offense. But you kind of wonder that LeBron wants to win that fourth gold medal. Steph, this is probably going to be his only shot in the Olympics. But since he's 36, so you got to think that Hill probably wants to win that medal too. Also, same thing with KD with what they just be his third or fourth gold. So I think this is sort of like one of those things where look, you did what you needed to do against a team that's actually pretty good. So can't really fault the U.S. for that. Now they do play France tomorrow, and it's actually a rematch of the Tokyo Olympics, the 2021 final, where some of the same thing happened. It was back and forth a little bit, but some big shots there by KD and LeBron. I think AD had a couple big shots to help him win that game. So you got Rudy Gobert, Victor Wembanyama in that group. So we just to see. You gotta think the stadium that stadium in Paris, the arena in Paris, I should say, will be very amped up because you saw the U.S. got a nice little heroes welcome back to their hotel last night, but they're going to be cheering for their French players. So should be very electric tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, it will be electric because, like you said, France will be the favorite because it's on their home soil. The United States is going to get some love as well, but it's going to be slightly towards France because, like you said, they're the the host nation for the Olympics. And Victor Wembanyama has been very impressive in this tournament. And I think we talked about him last week as they started. Some of the moves and some of the productivity that he's been displaying in these Olympics. We didn't see that last year with the San Antonio Spurs. And let's talk about their two victories quickly. I don't know if you guys just see their highlights. I know they beat Germany on Thursday. That was right before the U.S. Serbia game. But on Tuesday, they upset Canada. No one saw that coming.
No,
Maybe
and
I
I
didn't see
thought,
that coming. Maybe a couple of you did, but most people didn't see that coming.
yeah, sorry about that. That I'm watching Spain. Looks like they're going to be going to the gold medal game. They scored another stoppage time goal against France. But yeah, I mean, I still see a little bit of that matchup between France and Canada, and I really didn't see that. I mean, France kind of took control of that game from jump. I mean, Canada just really couldn't get their shots going. And if you're the United States, I mean, you better try to, not to. You can't really be lax because that French team's going to want to put on a show for their home fans. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see with that game. Of course, Wembanyama, yeah, I think he's going to be the guy that's going to get a lot of attention from AD and Embiid. And it's going to be, I think that's really French really isn't doing anything like too fancy. It's just that they've just been able to kind of like lock down some of the top guys. I mean, SGA just could not get a shot off in that semifinal match. And it's going to be interesting to see, like, if you're the U.S., you need to kind of send the message early on, try to set the pace, because if you let the France set the pace, especially if the crowd gets into it, it's going to be tough. So if you're the U.S., you got to try, set the tone early.
Couple of things here to watch out for tomorrow. One, the USA guards, we talk about Steph Curry, but I want to see Devin Booker step up and have a big game. I want to see Drew Holiday step up and have a big game. Derek White, I know he had that. He did that 3+1, that stupid foul toward the end of that third quarter. I know he's been impressive here in spots early in the tournament, but I didn't think he had a good moment yesterday. That's why he was sat down in that fourth quarter. But I want to see how our guards do against that defensive French that you mentioned. And like you said, set the tone, be aggressive, drive the ball to the basket. And number two, you mentioned about Anthony Davis, who I thought got a couple of bad calls yesterday when he was guarding Jokic. If you saw very closely, Lakina, Jokic had Anthony Davis's one of his arms locked up as he was driving to the basket, but they called the foul on Anthony Davis. I thought those a couple of calls were BS, but I digress. But I wanted to ask you, do you think that Steve Kerr will try at least on a couple of possessions, try to put LeBron James on Victor Wembanyama?
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, we know that LeBron's one of the few guys that actually been able to kind of lock down with Wembanyama, so I wouldn't be surprised if he does try that tomorrow. It'll be just to see, like you say, you kind of have to make sure the other French guys, the Rudy Gobert, I know they got a couple other guys from that French squad that can shoot the ball pretty well.
Evan Fournier too.
Yeah, before, I remember him. Well, yeah, he had a big game yesterday as well against Canada. So yeah, I mean, it should be interesting, entertaining final. Like I said, I think the U.S. should and will win. Like I said, the atmosphere is going to be electric at that arena, and should be fun. Like you said, it's going to be on Peacock, and I'm sure NBC will have it on there on the channel.
Yeah, NBC will have it too. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it'll stream on Peacock, or it'll be on NBC as well. The big NBC, they'll have coverage of that as well. So, but it should be a fun match tomorrow. And the third place game shouldn't be good either. Shouldn't be too bad either. Of course, you got to wake up at about 4 a.m. to watch that. Germany against Serbia for the bronze medal. That should be a fun one as well. We'll see if Serbia's heart's going to be in it after losing a tough one to the U.S. yesterday.
Yeah, that's going to be key, but I expect Serbia to have a bounce back game and win that one win the bronze medal. Now to the ladies, Lakina. Team USA will play for the gold on Sunday. We don't know, as of this live broadcast, we don't know who they're going to face yet. But just before we came on today, for those of you guys that are watching us live, the Team USA defeated Australia 85-64. Brianna Stewart had 16 points off of 6 of 12 shooting, including 3 for 3 from the foul line. Asia Wilson had a nice game for the United States women's basketball team. Lakina, defense was the story in this game for the United States. They forced a bunch of turnovers from Australia. At one point, the USA ladies team had 24 fast break points, and they just cruised from start to finish, as we talked about with the men just a moment ago. The ladies had the game plan. They sent Australia a message from the get-go, and they said, you're not going to compete with us today. Even if you make a run, we're going to make a stronger run right back, and that's what happened earlier today.
Yeah, actually, I think they're like 10 straight time in the gold medal game. They have not missed a gold medal match since '96. And like I said, this is probably the best I've seen U.S. women playoffs all tournament. They got to the defense, they locked up.
Mm-hmm.
They got some girls on the Aussie squad that can shoot, so they were able to lock them down. And they look, Brianna Stewart has been kind of leading the way. Her and Asia Wilson both, and even Kelsey Plum has made some big shots too. Now they will face the winner of France and Belgium that's coming up in a little bit. So if you guys want to scout the U.S. women's next opponent, you guys can check that out as well coming up in a bit. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see if the U.S. I think whoever they play, France is actually one of the, you probably say after the U.S. they're kind of like the second best team in that group. So you got to think that. And Belgium, they're kind of like their rivals, so I'm sure they're going to want to will their lays and a win there. And that final will actually be on the last day of the Olympics, right before the closing ceremony. So you guys check that out as well. I believe it's going to be on. I'm sure probably have the coverage of that because it's going to be during the marathon. But I think if you're
yeah, it's going to be on NBC. I'm talking about the. Yeah, I was just saying the women's basketball gold medal game this Sunday morning at 8:30 a.m. Central Standard Time on NBC.
Okay, so you'll be able to check that out as well. But should be interesting final nonetheless. I think the U.S. women should win gold, but I'm sure it's not going to be easy, especially they end up playing France. Same thing here. If that happens with the women as it was with the men, you got to think that arena is going to be rocket. It's going to be live, so they're going to want to will their latest victory. So should be a fun. Should they advance? But yeah, it should be interesting.
All right, you're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago City. LaKenna here with you, talking Olympics, talking sports media, and anything else that we need to get off our chest before we start our weekend. LaKenna, track and field, Noah Lyles, after winning the 100-meter race last Sunday afternoon. He won another medal earlier this week, but he has COVID, so it's just another obstacle he had to overcome to achieve his goal over there in Paris.
Yeah, it turns out I guess he was diagnosed with COVID maybe like an hour before. They could kind of tell he was very flush. He wasn't really himself. So you kind of think, I know some people are kind of like in those conspiracy theories are like, oh, maybe his ego got bruised, but I think the team confirmed. I think his mom did too that he was diagnosed with COVID. So it's if you want to think that, it's fine. But Letici Tobago from Botswana. That's he won Botswana's first gold medal, and the president there, he has declared him a national holiday. So I guess that's big for the folks there in Botswana. Of course, Kung Fu Kenny Bednarik, he won the silver, his second silver. Of course, he won silver. Stuck in there, silver in the 100 meters for gold there. Now Noah Lyles, I mean, I think he might have bit off more he could chew. I know he probably wasn't 100% prior. So, but it's okay. I mean, I know people are going to say, oh, we think he'd do the double, but look, I think the fact that he even won the 100 was not even his best event. I think that should be a testament to how good he is. So we'll see what happens there. Hopefully, get well soon and such. Now on the women's side, in the women's 200, Gabby Thomas, who is a doctor. She went to medical school. She did a residency, and now she has a gold medal on her resume. So a nice win for her. She also, spoiler alert, if you guys want to watch it later, she was part of the 4x100 meter women's relay team that took gold with Sha'Carri Richardson and TT Terry, winning that match as well. So their baton pass were much crisper there. So nice showing for her. Also too, Grant Holiday, 110 meters. He just missed winning gold in Tokyo. He ended up winning the silver. He's won everything, a high school state championship, national championship, and a world championship, but he did not. This was the only thing that was missing in his resume. Now he has a gold medal in his resume now.
I saw that Gabby Thomas race that she did yesterday right before the basketball game. She came out of there like a cannon. I didn't see any one of the other the ladies in that field beating her. Those long legs really did something for her, and just look at her, especially in that final turn, taking those strides. And it was very beautiful to watch. It was awesome to see. She definitely deserved that gold medal.
Yeah, and of course, want to give a shout out to the bronze medalists as well. Brianna Brown, give her a little bit of props as well. She won bronze in that event, so that was congrats to the ladies there. Let's see here. What's another one? The 110 hurdles on the men's side. Yeah, that's about it there. But the 400 meters. Well, you know what? Actually, with the men on the, want to give a shout out to the silver medalists in the men's 110-meter hurdles. Daniel Roberts, who was actually he and Grant Holloway were actually rivals back when they were in high school. Well, actually, they were in college, so it was kind of like the same thing there. He won a national championship. Holloway did, but Roberts came in second. He was able to kind of sneak in there. Against that Jamaican runner. Of course, he ended up winning the silver, so congrats to him. The 1,500 meters, look, I mean, we've been doing with the U.S. have been doing well in some of these mid-distance races. They won a bronze and silver, I should say a silver in steeplechase, and for the first time, and I think in like 100 years, like over 100 years, that they won gold and silver in that event. So just a great accomplishment there for them. And the U.S. has done a really good job in the mid-distance races. Usually, like they don't usually do well in those mid-distance races. So, yeah, that good for them.
Yeah, we as the United States still lead in the medal count overall. I know entering today's action, we were tied for the most gold medals. We leading obviously in the silver and the bronze. But I want to ask you this before we go over to sports media news to close out the show. Did you get a chance to check out any of the breakdancing competition? I know it started today, but have you got a chance to watch it? Yeah, I only saw a couple of clips. I was trying to focus in on the USA women's basketball game, but have you got a chance to watch the breakdancing competition yet?
I saw a little bit of the clips earlier this morning, and I think it looks kind of cool. I guess I don't know how they're judging it and what's going to be like the artistic style. I guess they're gonna how they're. I'm sure they're gonna make some adjustments for just in time for the Los Angeles Olympics. I'm sure that's going to be an event there still. But yeah, it looks cool. I mean, I'm sure they're gonna do a group version. I'm sure at some point. It's still very early on, so yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see like how it's judged and everything else.
Let me just put this out there. I know this is 4 years from now, but with the games being in Los Angeles in 4 years in 2028, bring out some of the old Soul Train dancers to be the judges for that competition. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I mean, like, sure. I mean, it's gonna be in Los Angeles, so sure. I mean, why not?
Mhm.
So, yeah, that might be something that like they can look at. Like, look, I think those dancers should reach out to the IOC and see if they can kind of whoever's in charge of the LA Olympics. So maybe we can reach out to them and see if they can make that happen. They got 4 years to do it, so I would say reach out to them now. Now, I want to give a shout out to, of course, Novak Djokovic. We get a chance to do that earlier this week, but he became just the 5th person to win the Golden Slam, as winning all 4 Grand Slams and now a gold medal. Of course, he beat Carlos Alcaraz for that. He joins Serena, Rafa, and Steffi Graf and Andre Agassi. Of course, Steffi did it in 1 year in '88. And of course, Scotty Scheffler, who won the gold medal for men's golf, came back from 4 strokes back to win. John Rahm, I'm sure he's going to have nightmares about that for a while. Tommy Fleetwood had a couple of chances, but yeah, he came in second. Of course, Hideki Matsuyama came in third for that. But but yeah, just want to give those guys a shout because you can tell how emotional Scheffler got after winning that gold medal. And kind of like, he's already had 6 titles, of course, including winning the Masters. But I think winning the gold medal is very special, especially in golf. Now we'll see. There are some rumors that golf may not be part of the Olympics for Los Angeles, but well, hopefully that's not the case. But yeah, we'll see.
All right, you're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Celia Kina, wrapping up the week for you before you start your weekend. We'll wrap up today's show by discussing some sports media news. And it looks like you're watching the early stages of this new regional sports network here in Chicago, the Chicago Sports Network, and they made it a recent hire who's also affiliated with this show. Tell us about it.
Yeah, shout out to Scotty Powers, who from the Athletic, who broke the news yesterday. Of course, the guy in question confirmed it. Mr. Pat Boyle has signed on to do pre and post for the Blackhawks once again. He is really, I think he's like the first big talent signing that's been had since with this new sports network coming up for Chicago sports network coming up. I think given that stability, we'll see if more people follow suit. But I think bringing on a Pat Boyle, who is well respected, we've had him on the show. We got to try, maybe we could try to get him back on before the Blackhawks season starts. But just a well liked person in sports media here in Chicago. And yeah, I think that definitely maybe gives a foundation. Okay, you know what? We're gonna have some familiar names here, and we'll see. We'll see if any more familiar names sign on in the next few weeks.
Yeah, I know. Stacey King and Adam Amin did an event. I believe it was last week, which was the "quote unquote" official launch of that network. I know they had the logo behind them that they were talking to fans and media at an event. So I know they're going to be a part of that new network as well. But like you said, the talent is usually the last ones to get hired, and we know that these companies have already done their research and as far as who they need to hire, who needs to be seen. But it's all about the men and women behind the scenes that do not get the proper credit. The production team, the technicians, the camera people, those are who will make that any network go.
Yeah, the producers and directors as well, and I know that they've been trying to NBC Sports Chicago, they're trying to like get some of those folks. I think some of those people are already there, the ones that do like the Blackhawks and the Bulls, so they're already kind of laid the groundwork there. And of course, I'm sure they gotta get some White Sox people there as well. So we'll see. Those are like the first three big hires. Again, I think Stacey King did kind of officially say, well, it's not being official yet, but I'm sure they'll pull out a statement at some point. But yeah, I think still things are kind of moving along here, and will they get some Bears content? I mean, usually that's what kind of kept NBC Sports Chicago afloat was the Bears content. So you wonder, will there be folks there they're going to be doing some Bears content because you got to fill out the schedule. So that's gonna be another thing. But yeah, it should be interesting to see like who else gets hired. Maybe a couple of friends of the show, perhaps. We'll see.
Hopefully. Speaking of former Chicago sports personalities, remember this guy? He was a producer at that time, 820, the score 820, Judd Surratt. He went on to do bigger, better things. He was a longtime radio voice of the Boston Bruins. Now he's going to replace Jack Edwards as the new TV voice of the Boston Bruins. So congratulations to Mr. Judd Surratt. He's been doing great work in the hockey world for a long time. Now you get to see him, hear him every day for 82 games plus at least the first round of the playoffs due to the TV contract. But it's nice to see him move up.
Yeah, good for him. I know he's been, he worked here for a few years, like we said, and just a really good guy. So yeah, I'm glad he's been killing it the last few years. So now he's gonna be doing it full time now on the TV side. So good for him.
Yeah, and of course, I saw another story here before we get to the other main story. I guess. Well, Skip Bayless, of course, he got the boot around this time last week from FS1, and he says he's not done yet. But Lakina, I know he shaped the way the sports content throughout all these networks, and of course, the internet has been evolving. But I think his time is up. I know he's getting paid from Fox, so I think $8 million a year. But yeah, he can try something on YouTube and whatnot. But I don't think he's going to have the same impact that he has had over his 30 plus year television career. I give him props to what he's done. He's taken advantage of it. He made the best of it. But we all have expiration dates, and it looks like his time was up last week, at least being on air anyway.
Yeah, I think ESPN has already said that they're not going to hire him. So he hopes to go back, and I doubt any of the other networks are going to hire him as either. So he may have to do kind of like a podcast style type thing. Maybe I don't know, maybe iHeart or maybe Apple or something, or Spotify. Maybe he does a podcast through them. But yeah, I don't see him doing that, especially in the linear television. I just think the demand isn't there anymore.
Yep. And to wrap up today's show, the NBA schedule will be released, I believe, sometime next week. But the Christmas schedule is out for the upcoming 2024-25 season. And it goes a little something like this. The Spurs and the Knicks will lead it off, followed by the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Dallas Mavericks, the rematch of last year's Western Conference Finals, followed by Philadelphia at Boston. The prime time game on ESPN/ABC will feature Stephen O'Brien, at least. We're heading to the last stages of both of their careers. It's the Lakers at the Warriors, followed by the nightcap, the Nuggets at the Suns.
Interesting schedule there. I mean, Jokic versus KD, that should be a fun one there. Lakers and Warriors, we'll see how both teams look at that point. 76ers and Celtics, that should be interesting. Of course, we know Embiid wasn't 100%, so we'll see what happens there. T-Wolves and Mavs, of course, a rematch of the Western Conference Finals. That should be fun as well. The Spurs and Knicks, we'll see where the Spurs are in this juncture. And the Knicks, I know that they gave Coach Tibbs a new extension. Okay. But yeah, the Spurs, we'll see how Mr. Wembanyama does in year 2, I should say, of his career, always doing his thing. So yeah, it should be a fun. Should be interesting all 5 of those games.
Yeah, Victor Wembanyama will be if he's one of the new faces of the NBA for the future. This will be his Christmas debut, so we'll see what he does on the big stage at MSG.
It should be entertaining because they had some entertaining games last season, I should say. So it should be fun there. Also, do want to give a shout out to the U.S. men's indoor volleyball team. They take home bronze. So just missing the going to gold medal game. Of course, they lost Poland, the defending champs. But yeah, they did come back and win bronze. So good for them as well. And I thought there was one more. Hinsdale. We're getting to the time of year where we're going to be seeing a lot of little league action. But there was a team from Hinsdale that won the Great Lakes region, so they're going to be going to Williamsport, Pennsylvania. So good luck to those guys. I think they start I think Robert Play starts on Wednesday there. So good luck to those guys from Hinsdale.
All right, quick announcement for those of you in the Chicagoland area. Tomorrow, Game 2, Cubs, Sox at Sox Park. Tomorrow afternoon at Lot B at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. It's the second to last tailgate of the season from the Chicago Sports Bums and the guys and gals from the 108. Yours truly will be there. Many faces that you see and read about on White Sox Twitter, they'll be there. So this is our pregame gathering before Game 2 between the Chicago Cubs and the Chicago White Sox. So once again, tomorrow afternoon, for those of you in the Chicago area, we're going to the game. Meet us there in Lot B, 3 o'clock Chicago time at Sox Park in Lot B. We're going to tailgate. We're going to have lots of bourbon, and we're going to have lots of food. If you want to look at the food menu, just go to Chicago Sports Bums on social media. They'll have the menu right there. It's going to be a great time, great people, and you Cub fans that want to come down too. Just don't act the fool. That's all we got to say. Yeah, if you come after the fool, you'll be booted right out of there. So, like I always say, great people, great food equals great times. So tomorrow afternoon, 3 p.m. at Sox Park, right before Game 2 of the Cubs Sox series at Sox Park in Lot B, it's going down, as the kids would say. So come one, come all. Bring your good vibes and bring your empty stomachs. It should be fun.
Oh boy! Well, hopefully maybe the White Sox can get a win in one of these Cubs series. We'll see.
Yes,
that'd be interesting over there at G-Rate this weekend. With that said, you can follow me at Keaton McGee on the Twitter, X, and Keaton McGee on the IG.
You can follow yours truly, City Brown, on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, at SidKid80, that's SIDKID80, SIDKID80. Be sure to download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms. Please subscribe to our podcast. We are located at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We are on all podcast platforms, including that iHeartRadio app. And while you're at it, please give War Media a follow at WARR Media on all social media platforms. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
Be sure to catch Second City Sports live in living color every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on Sports Zone Chicago. One more again, as the kids would say. Be sure to catch Second City Sports live in living color every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
And of course, you can get Sports Zone Chicago anytime, anywhere on Roku TV. So if you got the Roku TV app or whatever device you got, just go to their app store. Type in Sports Zone Chicago. It's all right there for you. You can catch our replays of our show, Sean and Maya, the Smoke Fellas, What's Up Cuz, and a whole lot of other great content. So you can get Sports Zone Chicago anytime, anywhere on Roku TV.
and you know we will provide.
Enjoy these last few days of the Olympics. Of course, Kayla Decky will be the flag bearer for the closing ceremonies. It was really cool that her fellow gold medalist and training partner Bobby Fink broke the news there. That was a really emotional moment for her, and for all the U.S. That was a really cool moment there. Now, of course, first. I'm Lakina. This has been Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Like I said, enjoy the baseball, and like I said, the other stuff coming as well as the Olympics are running down. And we'll see you guys Monday.
Dub Bears, Go Sox, and USA. Holla!